Hi, everyone. What I'm going to do right now is try to pull it all together. Now, we talked about feelings and how you can have more equity in your workplace, but as an individual, right? And it's so important for us to know, and I want to encourage you, if you don't know, I am telling you, you are a leader. You may not have that title, or sometimes we think, I just do this job. But we are a leader. We are leading our children, we're leading our community, we are all leaders. So what I want to talk to you this morning is the future of leadership. And the future of leadership is with compassion and empathy. I was looking at a statistics in a report from KPMG, Forbes, and Canadian Mental Health Association. And there are 5 things when I looked at them that they all talked about. One of them is a growth mindset. As a leader, is having a growth mindset is really important rather than having a fixed mindset. And that's important because if you as a leader is thinking of ways, how can I make this situation better? How can I improve? Is that the way that you're going into a situation? That is great because you're thinking about possibilities, you're thinking about solutions. And one of the things about the Idea for Gender Equality project is that the S is for solutions. So having a growth mindset is important. Understanding also that another trend that is happening for leaders in their workplace and you as an individual is that work is being decentralized. More and more work and how we work, as we all know it, is looking and feeling different. So as a leader, that's something we have to think of. It's also another trend that people want to feel that they belong. Cindy talked about equity and diversity, but people want to feel that they belong in a space, that I feel safe to be myself and to present myself in a safe place. And in general, the world is becoming smaller. We have more and more access about what's happening into the world. We've seen in the last 3 years, we can have a meeting with somebody in Australia, somebody in Africa. Our world is becoming smaller. The other thing as a leader that we need to take care of, and those of you who work in the mental health field understand that, there's a greater and greater need and a demand for workplaces to have a mental health solutions and to have accommodations. And people are starting to ask and want to feel that they can be safe in their workplace. So what does that mean for you as a leader? It means that it's about being flexible and goes right back to the first point about having a growth mindset. You may not have all the solutions, but if you're open and willing to listen, that is the key. So I'm going to bring this back to when I talked about leading with compassion, because the future of leadership is with compassion and empathy. Compassion literally means to suffer together. That's the literal meaning of compassion. And when people have researched the word compassion and the emotion of compassion, it arises not only by suffering with the person, but you're motivated. This is the key thing. You're motivated to relieve that suffering. So how does that take you back to being a leader? It takes you back. You have that growth mindset. Now you're leading with compassion, and suffering comes in the form of racism, sexism, no pay equity, lack of pay equity, I don't fit in because I'm trans, all the intersectionality that Sunita talked about. Chantel talked about my work doesn't feel safe here, it doesn't feel ideal. As a leader, you're understanding that. You may not fully understand because it's not your story, but you're willing to listen. And then the other important point is leading with empathy. So I don't know if many of you have seen the video by Brené Brown where she talks about empathy, but empathy is different than sympathy. Sympathy is you're sorry that something has happened. Empathy is actually getting down there in the muck with the person and saying, I may not know what's happening with you, but I'm going to sit here with you. empathy and compassion goes together. Sympathy is saying, oh, I'm sorry that happened, but. So there is really an indifference. There's a difference in it. So as a leader, if you are leading with empathy and compassion, and you have an open mindset and you understand the trends, you are doing the work. Now, how do you do the work? For me, it's about daring. This is what I talk about, daring to dream. If I didn't believe and have a dream that this world could be a better place, I wouldn't be here today. Do I live in a fantasy bubble? And those who know me, I'm a positive person, and I'm going to call out my friend in the back. She knows that I'm a very positive person, but I live in a world of reality. But if I, as a Black woman, lived in the space of my limitations that the system has set for me, I wouldn't be here today. And I always remember when I watched Sidney Poitier on Oprah Winfrey, and she asked him, well, how did you succeed? Because he succeeded in a time where doors were closed for him. And he said, I didn't know that the doors were closed. I didn't know that I had to come through the back door. Because at that point, many Black actors and actresses were not allowed to come through the front door of the hotels. So he said, well, I didn't know. So I want to encourage you to dare to have a dream, dare to want to have a world that's inclusive. Also, you are now going to design a plan. Maybe you're not in a position where you're the leader of the company or the owner, but you can design a plan in a community. Let's say you're going into a store and you see that that store doesn't have a ramp. Talk to the owner. You can design a plan in the places that you live and you work and you play. I interviewed Counselor Judith Brown, and one of the things that she pointed out when she was making changes in her world and in school was when she pointed out to a teacher, when the teacher says, oh, kids, take this is a flesh color crayon. And that beige crayon is only flesh color if your skin is beige. So it's simple things like that that you can help to make the change. And then you do it. You become active in your community. You get involved. So I encourage you that the future of leadership is empathy and compassion. Dare, dream, design, and do. Thank you so much.